Imagine holding in your hand a simple silver-colored coin that at first glance looks ordinary and modern, but in reality tells a story that stretches across centuries of Philippine history, economy, culture, and national identity. This is the one. Piso coin of 2018, a small piece of metal that carries the weight of change, reform, and symbolism. And in this video, we will unlock its history layer by layer. The 1 Piso coin of 2018 is part of the new generation currency coin series introduced by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas with the aim of modernizing the country's coinage system and creating a unified series that not only reflects the values of the nation, but also addresses the economic and technological needs of the present era. The coin was first released in March of 2018 and immediately attracted attention both for its sleek modern appearance and the controversies surrounding its design. At the center of the obverse face of the coin is the image of Jose Rizal, the national hero of the Philippines, whose life and works fueled the flames of nationalism during the late 19th century. By placing him on the 1 Piso coin, the government reinforced the enduring relevance of his ideals. The portrait of Rizal on the coin was carefully designed to project simplicity, clarity, and dignity, contrasting with earlier designs that often showed more elaborate elements. The choice reflected a push towards a more minimalist and contemporary style that aligned with global trends in currency design. On the reverse side of the 2018 1 Piso coin, you see the stylized image of the wailing orchid, which is considered the queen of Philippine flowers, known for its striking beauty and rarity. The inclusion of this national symbol emphasized the importance of biodiversity and natural heritage in the Philippines. Along with the image, you also see the new BSP logo representing institutional stability and modernization as the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas took steps to project itself as a forward-looking central bank committed to global financial standards. The coin is nickel-plated steel, a material chosen for durability, cost efficiency, and uniformity. The shift to this composition was part of a wider reform in the coinage system that sought to replace older brass and copper nickel coins, which were more expensive to mint and prone to hoarding or misuse. With nickel-plated steel, the BSP could produce coins in large volumes while reducing costs and ensuring consistency across denominations. But the 2018 1 Piso coin was not without controversy. Many Filipinos complained about its design and size, as it closely resembled other denominations, particularly the 5 Piso coin of the same series. This led to confusion in transactions and prompted debates on whether the BSP should redesign the coins to make them more distinguishable. Despite the criticism, the coin remained in circulation and became a subject of public discussion, sparking greater awareness of the intricacies of coinage design and its impact on daily life. To understand the 2018 1 Piso coin, you must also place it within the broader context of Philippine monetary history. The piso itself traces its origins to the Spanish colonial period, when silver pesos circulated across Asia and the Americas. After independence, the piso became the cornerstone of the Philippine monetary system, and over decades, it evolved through numerous redesigns reflecting shifts in politics, culture, and economy. The 2018 version is one step in this long journey, representing the modern stage of nation-building. Collectors view the 2018 1 Piso coin with mixed feelings. While some see it as too plain and lacking distinction, others appreciate its modern simplicity and the symbolism of the wailing orchid and Rizal together. The coin represents a bridge between past and future heroism and natural beauty, tradition and modernization. Its value to numismatists lies not only in its design, but also in its role in one of the most significant coinage reforms in recent Philippine history. In terms of circulation, the 1 Piso coin of 2018 quickly became the most widely used denomination in the country, as small transactions heavily depend on it. Jeepney fares, street food markets, and daily purchases all rely on the Piso coin, making it a vital element of the Philippine economy through constant use. The coin became a silent witness to the struggles and triumphs of ordinary Filipinos, across cities and rural areas alike. What makes the 1 peso coin of 2018 truly remarkable is how it condenses multiple layers of meaning into a small, round piece of metal. It tells the story of a national hero. It highlights the beauty of the natural world. It embodies the reforms of a central bank, and it reflects the everyday life of millions of people from the busy streets of Manila to the quiet villages in the provinces. As we journey deeper into this history, you will see how each detail of the coin connects to larger themes, from the evolution of coin production technology to the significance of Jose Rizal's enduring legacy, from the conservation of the waling-waling orchid to the modernization efforts of the Philippine monetary system. The 1 peso coin of 2018 is more than just change in your pocket. It is a living piece of heritage. And so, if you are ready, stay with me as we break down its design, its symbolism, its controversies, its historical roots, its economic impact, and its cultural significance in a way that will transform how you look at every coin that passes through your hands. Because the 1 peso coin of 2018 is not just currency. It is history, identity, and nationhood forged in steel and carried by the people every single day. The 1 peso coin of 2018 stands at the center of an important transformation in Philippine currency history, and to fully appreciate its place in the numismatic story of the nation, we must go deeper into its creation, the circumstances surrounding its release, and the historical legacy that shaped its symbolism. The introduction of this coin was not merely a change in appearance, but part of a larger nationwide effort to modernize financial instruments, simplify circulation, and strengthen the identity of the Filipino nation through its most common medium of exchange, the everyday coin that passes through millions of hands. The decision to redesign the 1 peso coin came after years of challenges with the previous coinage series, which had been in circulation since the early 1990s. The old coins, known as the BSP series, had grown outdated and expensive to produce, and many of them were prone to being confused with one another as commerce in the Philippines became increasingly fast-paced. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas recognized the need for a more uniform series that could be easily managed by both the public and financial institutions. The answer was the New Generation Currency Coin Series, a project that involved years of planning and careful study of design elements, security features, and material costs. When the 1 peso coin of 2018 was unveiled, the first reaction of the public was mixed. On the one hand, many people were impressed with its shiny and uniform look, its lighter weight, and the refreshing introduction of natural symbols like the waling-waling orchid on the reverse side. On the other hand, the criticism soon emerged that its design was too plain, too similar to other coins, and too easy to confuse with the 5 peso coin, especially for ordinary workers, vendors, and commuters who needed to handle change quickly in daily transactions. This debate over its practicality became a national conversation, and newspapers, radio, and television programs covered the issue, while ordinary Filipinos shared their frustrations or support. Beyond the public opinion, however, the coin has a deeper layer of meaning that extends into the country's history, starting with its obverse. The image of Jose Rizal is not a casual choice. Rizal has appeared on Philippine currency for decades, but each representation of him carries new weight. Depending on the historical moment of release in 2018, his face was engraved in a modern, minimalistic manner, projecting an image that was dignified and straightforward, symbolizing clarity and strength for a new generation. The portrait connects millions of Filipinos to the ideals of freedom, reform, and national pride that Rizal embodied in his writings and his sacrifice. On the reverse, the waling-waling orchid is not only a flower but a national symbol that represents both rarity and resilience. The decision to include it among the designs of the New Generation Currency series reflects the broader trend of showcasing Philippine flora and fauna on coins and banknotes, a reminder that the nation's natural heritage is as valuable as its historical figures. The orchid's delicate structure and vibrant beauty stand in contrast to the industrial steel of the coin itself, creating a powerful visual metaphor for the union of culture, nature, and progress. Imagine holding in your hand a simple 1 peso coin dated 1978 and realizing that this small round piece of metal is not just currency, but a window into the economic struggles, the political shifts, the cultural pride, and the identity of an entire nation. The 1978 1 peso coin of the Philippines is more than a coin. It is a story engraved in nickel brass that represents the direction of a country during the rule of Ferdinand Marcos. It was born during a time when the Philippine economy was under pressure, inflation was climbing, and the administration sought ways to symbolize stability, strength, and national unity through its coinage to the casual observer. It is a coin with a portrait, but to the historian, it is a reflection of a government that was crafting its legacy and controlling its imagery at a time when the world was watching and the nation itself was in the midst of change. The 1 peso coin of 1978 carried the bust of Jose Rizal, the national hero who had become the eternal face of patriotism, sacrifice, and intellectual independence in the Philippines. His portrait on the obverse of the coin was not simply a design choice, it was a deliberate reinforcement of national pride during an era of political tension. Rizal had always been used as a unifying figure by governments. But under the Marcos administration, his image was meant to bind the people under one national spirit while quietly covering the cracks of unrest brewing beneath the surface. The reverse of the coin featured the coat of arms of the Republic of the Philippines with its bold sun stars and symbols of independence. This was the official statement of sovereignty, stability, and unity placed into the hands of millions of Filipinos every single day. The design elements themselves were carefully balanced to combine tradition and modernity as the Philippines sought to stand tall on the international stage, even while facing its own struggles at home. The 1978 1 peso coin was minted in large quantities by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas as part of the ongoing circulation series, and it became the daily companion of workers, farmers, students, and business people alike. But the coin was not just about monetary value, it was about history. During the 1970s, the Philippines was experiencing the challenges of martial law, which Marcos had declared in 1972. The coin, therefore, must be understood not only as an economic tool, but also as a political instrument. Coins of this time were standardized with durable alloys, such as nickel brass, not only to reduce costs and resist wear, but also to symbolize permanence and strength, as if to reflect a government that insisted it would endure despite turmoil and international criticism. Production of the 1978 1 peso coin itself also ties into the global economic conditions. Of the time, the late 1970s saw fluctuations in the value of metals, and many countries were experimenting with new alloys to maintain affordability while ensuring longevity. The Philippines adopted these measures as well, which is why the 1978 issue used a strong composition that could handle years of circulation. This practical aspect may seem technical, but it highlights how the coin represents both national pride and international adaptation. Collectors today look at the 1978 1 peso coin with fascination, not because it is rare in the traditional sense, but because it embodies the spirit of its era. It is a coin that tells the story of Rizal being used as a symbol of unity. It tells the story of a government trying to project permanence through design. It tells the story of an economy where the 1 peso still had substantial purchasing power and could buy essential goods, unlike today, where inflation has reduced its practical value. The 1978 1 peso coin was once the heartbeat of everyday transactions. A coin that passed from hand to hand, carrying with it both economic function and symbolic weight. As you dive into its history, you realize that this coin bridges many layers: the political agenda of the Marcos era, the enduring symbolism of José Rizal, the economic realities of the late 1970s, and the cultural significance of national emblems engraved on circulating money for a collector or historian. The 1978 1 peso coin is a puzzle piece that fits into the larger mosaic of Philippine history. Each scratch and worn surface on the surviving coins today carries silent testimony to the lives it has passed through and the moments it has witnessed. So when you hold this coin, you are not just holding money, you are holding a moment in time when a nation was struggling to balance pride and pressure, when symbols mattered as much as policy, when every Filipino had a piece of national identity jingling in their pocket. This is why the 1978 1 peso coin deserves not just a glance, but a deep exploration of its origins, its symbolism, its circulation, its cultural weight, and its legacy, making it a story worthy of a long, detailed, and unforgettable journey into the heart of numismatic history. The year is 1978, and the Philippines is in the midst of profound transformation. The nation is under martial law declared by Ferdinand Marcos 6 years earlier, and, while the political environment is tense with censorship, strict control, and promises of a new society, the everyday lives of Filipinos revolve around their work, their families, their hopes, and also their coins. One of the most familiar sights in their hands and pockets is the 1 peso coin issued that year. A coin that many at the time saw as simply money, but that today stands as a piece of living history, carrying in its design the story of the Filipino people, their identity, their struggles, and their resilience. At the heart of the 1978 1 peso coin is the face of Dr. José Rizal, the Philippine national hero, whose life and sacrifice had long been revered across the islands. His portrait on the obverse side was not chosen lightly. Rizal represented intelligence, resistance to oppression, and love of country ideals that every Filipino child learned about in school. His novels and writings had challenged colonial rule, and his execution in 1896 had ignited a flame of revolution decades. Later, under Marcos, his image was once again used to remind people of patriotism and unity, but it also served another purpose. The government understood that Rizal was a unifying figure above politics, and by placing him prominently on the nation's currency, the state reinforced the idea that despite unrest, there was a deeper bond that tied all Filipinos together, a bond rooted in their history and their heroes. The reverse side of the coin carried the coat of arms of the Republic of the Philippines, proudly displayed with the sun shining and the 3 stars representing Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. This official symbol was both a reminder of independence and a declaration of sovereignty and strength to anyone who examined the coin. Each emblem etched into the design had meaning, the sun representing freedom, the stars representing the unity of the main island groups, the shield with its blue, red, and white colors reflecting the national flag. This was not just decoration, it was an intentional statement that every coin placed in circulation carried with it the message of national pride. The alloy of the coin was nickel brass, a durable composition chosen for its resistance to wear and its ability to stay bright in circulation in the 1970s. The Philippines, like many nations, was grappling with global economic pressures. Metal prices were shifting. Inflation was affecting everyday life, and governments across the world were rethinking the cost of producing their currency. The decision to mint the 1 peso coin in this composition was practical, but it also reflected the government's desire to issue a coin that would last in circulation and not quickly tarnish in the eyes of the public. The 1 peso coin in 1978 held real value, unlike today, where a single peso buys almost nothing. Back then, it was a coin of purchasing power. With 1 peso, a Filipino could buy essential goods like rice bread or public transportation fares. It was the coin of daily life exchanged in markets. jeepneys, schools, and workplaces every time it passed from one hand to another. It carried not just economic weight, but symbolic weight for the person who held it. Imagine holding in your hand a piece of history that not only represents the value of money, but also the identity of a nation, a coin that tells the story of a people, their struggles, their triumphs, and their journey toward sovereignty, the Philippine. One peso coin of 1974 is not just a small piece of metal. It is a silent witness to a period in the country's history that shaped the lives of millions. To fully understand the depth of this coin, we must step back into the context of the Philippines. In the early 1970s, a time when political, social, and economic changes were sweeping across the archipelago. In 1974, the Philippines was under the leadership of President Ferdinand Marcos, who had declared martial law just 2 years earlier in 1972. The government at that time sought to emphasize national pride and unity through various cultural and economic reforms. One of the most visible symbols of these reforms was the currency. The 1 peso coin minted in 1974 was part of the New Coinage series that reflected the vision of Bagong Lipunan, or New Society, a program introduced by Marcos to instill discipline, nationalism, and a restructured economy. The coin itself was not merely a tool for trade, it was an emblem of this new ideology. The obverse of the coin featured the profile of Jose Rizal, the national hero of the Philippines, a man whose writings and sacrifice had inspired the revolution against Spanish colonial rule. Rizal's presence on the coin was more than symbolic. It was a reminder of national pride and intellectual freedom at a time when those very values were being challenged. The engravings highlighted his dignified profile with the inscription Republika ng Pilipinas, encircling the portrait, a bold declaration of national identity. On the reverse side of the 1 peso coin of 1974 was the official seal of the Central Bank of the Philippines, known as Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Along with the denomination, the seal itself carried deep meaning as it represented the country's financial sovereignty and its ability to stand as an independent republic controlling its own currency and economy. This design choice linked the heroism of Rizal with the economic aspirations of the Filipino people under the Bagong Lipunan movement. The material composition of the 1974 1 peso coin also reflected practical decisions. It was made primarily of copper-nickel alloy, giving it both durability and a silvery appearance that made it distinct from earlier coins measuring 38 millimeters in diameter and weighing 20 grams. It was larger and heavier than most coins in circulation, and that size gave it a sense of importance and gravitas. When held in the hand, it symbolized value, not just in economic terms, but in cultural and historical weight as well. The minting of this coin was also significant in terms of production. The 1974 1 peso coin was struck at the Royal Mint in London, as the Philippines had arrangements with international mints for large-scale coin production during that era. These coins were produced in large numbers, ensuring that they circulated widely across the country and became a common item in the daily lives of Filipinos, whether used for buying goods in markets, paying transportation, fares, or exchanged in daily trade. The coin became deeply embedded in the fabric of society. Beyond its daily function, the coin captured a moment of change and complexity in Philippine history. The Bagong Lipunan inscription introduced on the edge of the coin tied it firmly to the Marcos era. This phrase, which translates to New Society, carried political undertones. It was used to promote the idea of discipline, productivity, and a united Filipino identity, but it also became closely associated with the authoritarian rule and the suspension of certain freedoms under martial law. Thus, the coin embodied both national aspiration and the controversial politics of its time. Over the years, the 1974 1 peso coin gained historical value as it Transitioned out of everyday circulation with the introduction of newer coin series by the Banco Central in the 1980s and 1990s, these older large-size peso coins were gradually demonetized and replaced by smaller, lighter coins, yet collectors and historians continue to prize the 1974 issue not only because of its physical characteristics, but because of what it represents in terms of national memory. Numismatists today regard the 1974 1 peso coin as a key piece for understanding Philippine coinage and history. It marked a bridge between traditional pre-martial law coinage and the new era designs that followed its large, bold appearance, made it a standout in Philippine currency history, while its cultural and political symbolism made it unique in the narrative of the nation. To own one is to hold a fragment of history that links economics, politics, culture, and identity in a single tangible form. Imagine building an entire story around this coin, tracing the life of Rizal, the symbolism of his image, the rise of the central bank, the economic aspirations of a developing country, the daily lives of Filipinos who carried it in their pockets, and the political climate that influenced its creation, from the edge inscriptions to its minting. Origins. Every detail opens a door to a deeper understanding of Philippine heritage. The 1974 1 peso coin is more than a means of payment. It is a storyteller of a nation in transition, a metallic witness to an era of both pride and controversy, and a lasting reminder that even the smallest objects can carry the heaviest histories. Imagine holding a coin in your hand, a coin that is not just a piece of metal but a living witness to the struggles, dreams, and ambitions of a nation. Imagine a coin that reflects not only the face of a national hero, but also the vision of a government, the pulse of an economy, and the everyday life of millions of people in the bustling streets of Manila, the crowded jeepneys, the busy marketplaces, and the hands of workers, farmers, and students. This coin was everywhere in 1974. The 1 peso coin was born in a time of sweeping change when the Philippines was stepping into a new chapter, a chapter marked by promises of progress, discipline, and national identity, but also shadowed by political control and the imposition of martial law. This single coin tells a story that is far deeper than its denomination. It carries the proud image of Jose Rizal, the great reformer whose writings awakened the consciousness of an entire people. It carries the seal of the central bank symbolizing economic sovereignty, and it carries the inscription of Bagong Lipunan, the New Society, a slogan that promised a rebirth of discipline and unity under President Ferdinand Marcos. When you look at this coin, you are not just seeing copper and nickel. You are holding a message crafted with intention, a symbol meant to inspire loyalty and pride, yet also used as a tool to reinforce authority and political order. This coin passed through countless hands. It bought meals, it paid for rides, it was tucked away in savings jars and passed between merchants and customers. And yet every single exchange carried with it the silent weight of the time in which it was. Created the 1 peso coin of 1974 is not only about design or metal content, it is about history, politics, economy, and culture, all melted into one piece of currency that has survived long after it was removed from daily use. It is a coin that allows us to step back into the 1970s, to see the Philippines, as it was then a country searching for identity, stability, and growth. While caught in the complex currents of power and change, to understand this coin is to understand the story of a people and a nation. And for the next 2 hours, we will dive deep into its history, its design, its symbolism, and its legacy. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that carries with it not only the weight of metal, but the spirit of a defining moment in American history, a $quarter minted in 2021 that tells the story of a cold December night in 1776 when George Washington led his Continental Army across the icy Delaware River to change the course of the Revolutionary War. The crossing the Delaware quarter is more than currency. It is a tribute to courage, resilience, leadership, and the enduring legacy of a young nation. Struggling for independence when the United States Mint released this quarter in April 2021, it marked a unique and important chapter in American numismatics because it bridged the end of one iconic program and the beginning of another, the America. The Beautiful Quarters program, which ran from 2010 to 2021, had just concluded with the final issue celebrating the Tuskegee Airmen National Historic Site, and before the new American Women Quarters program could begin in 2022, the Mint chose to honor one of the most legendary scenes from American history with a one-year-only design. This decision created a coin that is not only historically significant but also numismatically distinct, because unlike many other designs it was struck for only a single year, making it instantly recognizable and collectible. The design of the 2021 Crossing the Delaware Quarter stands apart for its dramatic portrayal of General Washington the Reverse, designed by artist Benjamin Sowards and sculpted by medallic artist Michael Gaudioso, depicts Washington at the bow of a Durham boat, guiding his men through the treacherous ice-filled waters. The figure is commanding his stance, resolute, his sword sheathed, yet his presence a symbol of leadership and determination. This image does not replicate the famous painting by Emanuel Leutze, but rather offers a fresh interpretation, one grounded in realism and historical respect, capturing Washington not as a romanticized icon, but as a determined commander focused on victory in a moment of peril. This was the night of December 25th into December 26th, 1776, when Washington's army carried out a daring nighttime operation to cross the Delaware River, surprising the Hessian troops in Trenton, New Jersey, and securing a critical victory that reinvigorated the American cause at a time when morale was dangerously low. The obverse of the coin returned to the classic portrait of George Washington by John Flanagan, first introduced in 1932 to mark the bicentennial of Washington's birth. This portrait had been used on quarters for decades, and with this 2021 release, the Mint preserved that traditional design before later transitioning to the Laura Garden Fraser design for the American Women Quarters in 2022. Thus, the coin serves as both a continuation of tradition and a transitional moment in the history of American coinage. Collectors and historians alike recognize the importance of the Crossing the Delaware Quarter for several reasons. First, it captures one of the most iconic moments of the Revolutionary War. Second, it was issued for only a single year, making it distinct within the broader quarter series. Third, it represents a bridge between two monumental coin programs. And finally, it reflects the Mint's commitment to connecting America's money with America's history, ensuring that each generation encounters these stories not just in textbooks, but in the very coins they use every day. To appreciate this coin fully, one must understand the historical event it commemorates. The winter of 1776 was one of despair for the Continental Army. Many enlistments were expiring, morale was at its lowest point, and defeat after defeat had left Washington's men weary and uncertain. Yet Washington chose boldness over retreat. He orchestrated the crossing of the Delaware, a feat of endurance, skill, and determination in freezing conditions. The soldiers, some with worn clothing and little food, managed to cross the river and march 9 miles to Trenton, where they surprised and defeated the Hessian garrison. This victory breathed new life into the Revolution, convincing soldiers to stay on, convincing potential allies that the American cause still had strength, and proving Washington's leadership under dire circumstances. The Mint's choice to honor this moment in 2021 was no accident. It was meant as a reminder of resilience in times of hardship, much like the revolutionary soldiers who endured immense struggles. Americans in modern times face their own challenges, and the coin symbolically ties the perseverance of the past with the endurance of the present. The Crossing the Delaware Quarter, therefore, is not just a coin, it is a miniature monument, one that honors the Revolutionary War, honors George Washington, and honors the timeless American spirit of rising against adversity. The production of this coin spanned the major U.S. mint facilities, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with circulation. Strikes as well as proof and silver-proof editions, collectors quickly took interest because of its one-year mintage status and because it represented a historical theme deeply embedded in the nation's identity. This was not merely a coin for commerce. It was a collectible narrative, a historical artifact in miniature struck in millions, yet cherished for its symbolism. In conclusion, the 2021 Crossing the Delaware Quarter offers a unique blend of history, artistry, and national identity. It is a coin that takes us back to a winter night when the fate of a nation hung in the balance. It reminds us of Washington's leadership, of the courage of the soldiers, and of the turning point that gave new life to the American Revolution for collectors. It stands as a one-year-only treasure bridging two major programs for historians. It stands as a tangible reminder of sacrifice and victory. And for all Americans, it remains a small yet powerful piece of metal that tells a story larger than itself, a story of liberty, perseverance, and hope, carried across icy waters and preserved in the palm of your hand. Imagine holding a coin in your hand, a small piece of metal with the power to carry history, art, and culture across generations. And now picture a coin that tells the story of a mountain, a forest, and the spirit of America itself. That coin is the 2013 White Mountain Quarter, a shining part of the America, the Beautiful Quarters program. This program, launched in 2010, was designed to honor national parks and sites of natural and historic importance across the United States. Each quarter is not just a piece of change, but a miniature monument to the values that define the nation, and the White Mountain Quarter carries with it the grandeur of New Hampshire, the majesty of the White Mountain National Forest, and the dedication of the United States Mint to preserve and celebrate the land through numismatic artistry. The White Mountain Quarter was released on February 21, 2013, as the 16th coin in the America the Beautiful series, and the first design for that year. It highlights the White Mountain National Forest, a treasured area spanning more than 75,000 acres across New Hampshire and Maine. This forest, established in 1918, has long been cherished for its natural beauty, its ecological importance, and its role in the lives of the people of New England. When you look at the reverse design of this quarter, you are immediately drawn into an image that captures both serenity and power. The focal point is Mount Chocorua, one of the most iconic peaks in New Hampshire, standing tall against the sky with a breathtaking view framed by vast forested slopes and trees in the foreground. The design itself was created by United States Mint Artistic Infusion Program artist Barbara Fox, and it was engraved by sculptor-engraver Joseph Mena. The artistry behind the coin captures the balance between precision and symbolism. The trees at the bottom of the design rise up naturally, guiding your eyes to the peak of Mount Chocorua, which has long been associated with New England. Hiking culture, folklore, and scenic tradition, many consider Mount Chocorua one of the most photographed mountains in America, and the quarter immortalizes it as a permanent image of pride. The history of White Mountain National Forest itself is a powerful story of conservation. At the end of the 19th century, much of the forest was devastated by logging operations, uncontrolled fires, and heavy erosion. The once lush and resilient ecosystem was left damaged, and local communities demanded action. Their concerns gave rise to one of the most significant pieces of conservation legislation in American history, the Weeks Act of 1911. This act authorized the federal government to purchase private land for forest conservation and water protection, leading directly to the creation of the White Mountain National Forest in 1918. From that moment forward, the White Mountains became a living example of how the United States could reverse ecological damage and preserve land for future generations. When analyzing the details of the coin, we can also see how the United States Mint approached the America the Beautiful program with extraordinary attention to historical accuracy and artistry. The White Mountain Quarter was struck at The Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints and collectors often seek uncirculated and proof versions, which capture the design in pristine detail. The coin, like others in the series, has a standard obverse featuring the 1932 John Flanagan portrait of George Washington, a reminder that even as new designs celebrate natural and cultural heritage, they remain tied to the enduring image of the nation's first president. But the White Mountain Quarter is more than a design on metal. It is a representation of the deep cultural and natural heritage of New Hampshire. The White Mountains have been a source of inspiration for writers, artists, and travelers for centuries, from the Hudson River School painters of the 19th century, who captured their sublime landscapes on canvas, to the poets and novelists who used the peaks and valleys as symbols of endurance, solitude, and beauty. In American literature, these mountains stand as a reminder of the connection between people and the land, and the coin allows everyday Americans to hold that story in their hands. The symbolism of Mount Chocorua itself is worthy of deeper exploration. Native American folklore tells of the chief Chocorua who left behind a dramatic legend tied to the mountain that bears his name. And over the centuries, the peak became more than just a natural landmark. It became a symbol of the region, a subject of romantic art, and a destination for countless hikers seeking both challenge and beauty in their journeys. When the Mint chose to depict this mountain on the 2013 quarter, it was not simply a nod to the physical geography of New Hampshire, it was a recognition of the cultural layers that make the White Mountain significant collectors of the White Mountain. Quarter often note that its design strikes a perfect balance between complexity and clarity. Unlike some coins in the America the Beautiful series that are crowded with architectural or historical imagery, this one stands out for its simplicity. The mountain, its foreground, and its natural frame. It has a timeless quality much like the landscape it represents, and that has helped make it a favorite among collectors, especially those who seek out natural beauty in coin design. The economic and social impact of the America the Beautiful Quarters program should not be overlooked either. By introducing millions of Americans to the national parks and forests through their pocket change, the Mint fostered awareness and curiosity about the very places the coins depicted. Countless people who may never have known of White Mountain National Forest learned of its existence because they saw it etched onto a quarter, and that awareness fuels tourism appreciation and pride in conservation programs. Over the course of 2 hours, you could explore every facet of the White Mountain Quarter, from its legislative roots in the Weeks Act to the artistry of its engravers, from the folklore of Chocorua to the modern hiking culture that thrives in the White Mountains, from the ecological recovery of the region to the way the Mint immortalized that recovery on a coin. You could trace how the series itself brought Americans closer to their national treasures, and how this particular coin stands as one of the most elegant examples of the program. The White Mountain Quarter is more than currency. It is history, art, nature, folklore, and policy, all engraved on a piece of metal barely larger than a thumbprint, yet holding within it the grandeur of a mountain range, the story of a nation's conservation ethic, and the artistic legacy of the Mint in honoring America's greatest treasures. This coin is not just a collectible. It is a reminder of the American spirit and the timeless power of the land that defines it. Imagine holding in your hand a modern quarter that is not just a piece of circulating currency, but a symbol of a centuries-long struggle for equality and recognition. The 2022 P Quarter, known as the Voto para la Mujer Quarter, is one of the most powerful pieces ever released by the United States Mint under the American Women Quarters program. This coin carries with it the voice of countless women who fought for suffrage, civil rights, and equal representation, and its history is not only about design and production, but about the deep cultural and political currents that shaped it. This is not just a coin. It is a monument in miniature struck in metal to commemorate a legacy of courage. The American Women Quarters program was authorized by Congress in 2020 through Public Law 116-330 and was designed to run from 2022 through 2025, celebrating pioneering women who have left their mark on American history through innovation, activism, literature, politics, and social change. The first year of release, 2022, brought 5 remarkable designs honoring Maya Angelou, Dr. Sally Ride, Wilma Mankiller, Nina Otero Warren, and Anna May Wong. Among them, the Nina Otero Warren quarter stands out with the inscription Voto para la Mujer, marking the first time Spanish language has been featured prominently on a United States circulating coin. Nina Otero Warren, born in 1881 in New Mexico. Territory was a key figure in the suffrage movement in the Southwest. She championed bilingual education and used her influence to bring Hispanic communities into the fight for women's voting rights. When New Mexico drafted its state constitution, she fought to ensure women would gain suffrage, and she later became the first Latina woman to run for Congress. Her slogan, Voto para la Mujer, Vote for Women, represented both her commitment to enfranchising women and her recognition that the fight for equality had to be inclusive of Spanish-speaking populations. Her leadership connected 2 vital fronts of American identity: the push for women's rights and the role of Hispanic culture in shaping the nation. The quarter itself was designed by Chris Costello of the Artistic Infusion Program and sculpted by Craig A. Campbell from the United States Mint. It features a portrait of Nina Otero Warren facing forward with her name inscribed alongside the phrase Voto para la Mujer. The inclusion of Spanish was groundbreaking because United States coinage had rarely, if ever, acknowledged the linguistic diversity of the country. Until this moment, the reverse of all American women quarters retains the traditional portrait of George Washington, but with a design updated by Laura Garden Fraser, which had originally been created in 1931. And now serves as the standard obverse across this series. Production of the coin began in 2022 at multiple Mint facilities, with the Philadelphia Mint producing the 2022 P issue. The coin was struck in standard clad composition with a copper core and nickel outer layer diameter of 26 millimeters and a weight of 5.67 grams. The Philadelphia issues carry the P Mint mark placed on the obverse. The mintage reached into the hundreds of millions, ensuring wide circulation. But for collectors, the proof version struck at San Francisco, and the silver proof issues offered in sets provided higher quality examples. The 2022 P quarter, however, remains historically significant because it circulated widely, introducing the story of Otero Warren to millions of people who may never have encountered her name in textbooks. The context of this coin is deeply tied to the broader narrative of suffrage in the United States. When the 19th Amendment was ratified in 1920, granting women the right to vote, many Hispanic, Native, and African American women were still disenfranchised through discriminatory practices. Otero Warren's activism reflected the ongoing struggle to make suffrage universal. She worked to improve education in New Mexico and to ensure representation for marginalized voices. Her advocacy aligned with the larger movement for social reform in the early 20th century, including labor rights, cultural preservation, and the recognition of women as leaders. In the broader framework of numismatic history, the Voto para la Mujer quarter marks a turning point in how American coinage tells stories. Earlier series like the State Quarters and America the Beautiful quarters focused on geography, landmarks, and symbols of national pride, but the American Women quarters program shifted the narrative to individuals and movements. It sought not just to decorate coins with images, but to use them as educational tools and cultural statements. The 2022 P issue demonstrates this by fusing art, language, and activism in a single design. Collectors immediately recognized the cultural weight of this issue. While its face value is 25 cents, its symbolic value is immeasurable. The coin is part of sets released by the U.S. Mint, including uncirculated coin sets, proof sets, and silver proof sets with the Nina Otero Warren design. Alongside the other 2022 honorees, secondary market demand has grown not only for pristine examples graded by third-party services like PCGS and NGC, but also for error coins struck at Philadelphia, such as off-center strikes and die clashes which command premiums among specialists. The legacy of the Voto para la Mujer quarter extends beyond collecting it, forces us to confront how history is remembered and whose stories are. Told by placing Nina Otero Warren on a coin, the mint acknowledged a woman whose role in suffrage was once overlooked, and by printing her message in Spanish, it underscored the multicultural fabric of the United States for educators, historians, and collectors alike. This coin serves as a tool to discuss the intersections of gender, ethnicity, language, and democracy in American life. As you look closely at the 2022 P. Voto para la Mujer quarter, you see more than inscriptions and metal. You see the spirit of a woman who challenged systems that excluded her community. You see the progress of a nation that moves slowly yet persistently toward inclusion. And you see the power of coinage, not just to facilitate commerce, but to preserve collective memory. In this way, the 2022 P quarter becomes a classroom, a museum, and a monument all at once. Its story is not just worth a glance, it is worth hours of reflection, study, and appreciation, because in its small frame, it captures a struggle that changed the course of American democracy forever. Imagine holding a small silver-toned quarter in your hand and realizing that it is not just a piece of everyday change, but rather a miniature monument to one of the most breathtaking places in the United States, the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore. Quarter, released in 2018 as part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, represents a unique combination of natural beauty, cultural heritage, and national pride, and its story is much larger than its 25-cent value. The tale of the Apostle Islands and the quarter that immortalizes them is one that takes us on a journey across centuries of exploration, indigenous heritage, environmental preservation, artistic design, and the larger movement of the United States Mint to capture the essence of America's treasured places in its circulating coinage. To begin this journey, we must first understand the history of the America the Beautiful Quarters program itself, a monumental initiative launched in 2010 that ran for more than a decade, covering 56 designs, honoring national parks, national forests, wildlife refuges, and other historic sites. The Apostle Islands Quarter marked the 42nd release in this series, and it captured the essence of Wisconsin's northern wilderness on the shores of Lake Superior, a region known for its rugged landscapes, dense forests, and scattered islands that form a breathtaking lakeshore. The purpose of the program was not simply to mint coins for commerce, but to bring national awareness to these places and to inspire interest in the natural and cultural treasures of the nation. The Apostle Islands themselves have a deep and fascinating history long before the arrival of European explorers, indigenous peoples, including the Ojibwe called this region home for centuries, relying on its waters and islands for fishing, hunting, and sacred cultural traditions. The name Apostle Islands was given by French explorers in the 17th century who believed the number of islands was 12, like the apostles of the Bible, though in truth there are 22 islands spread across Lake Superior. These islands would later become important to the fur trade, to shipping routes, and eventually to conservation as the United States began recognizing the importance of preserving its natural wonders in the 20th century. The establishment of the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore came in 1970 after years of advocacy by conservationists, local communities, and national park supporters. It was officially designated as a protected area under the National Park Service, ensuring that its islands, sea caves, forests, and wildlife would be preserved for future generations. The area became known not only for its striking natural scenery, but also for its cultural and maritime history, including historic lighthouses that once guided ships across the dangerous waters of Lake Superior. When the United States Mint decided to honor the Apostle Islands with a quarter in 2018, the challenge fell to engravers and designers to create an image that captured the soul of the place. The final design chosen for the reverse side of the coin features the iconic sea caves of Devil's Island, one of the most visited and recognizable Spots in the lakeshore in the design, we see a kayaker paddling along the towering sandstone cliffs and caves with the lighthouse of Devil's Island visible in the background. This choice of imagery perfectly symbolizes both the natural wonder and the recreational opportunities of the Apostle Islands, while also acknowledging the maritime heritage represented by the lighthouses that dot the area. The design was the work of Artistic Infusion Program artist Richard Masters and was engraved by sculptor-engraver Renata Gordon, both of whom sought to create a design that could instantly connect the viewer to the majesty of the Apostle Islands. The obverse of the quarter remained consistent with the rest of the America the Beautiful series, featuring the familiar portrait of George Washington, originally sculpted by John Flanagan in 1932. And modified over time, this continuity ensured that the series remained unified while allowing each reverse design to tell its unique story. To truly appreciate the Apostle Islands quarter, one must also understand the immense artistic and technical process behind the creation of a coin. It begins with the selection of sites which are chosen based on their historical, cultural, and natural significance. Once a site is selected, artists within the Mint and its Artistic Infusion Program create multiple designs which are reviewed by advisory committees such as the Citizens Coinage Advisory Committee and the Commission of Fine Arts after rounds of revisions and feedback. The final design is approved by the Secretary of the Treasury. It then goes to sculptor engravers who painstakingly carve the design into a model before it is translated into dies used in mass production at Mint facilities. The Apostle Islands quarter was struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, with circulation strikes proof versions and silver-proof versions produced for collectors. Beyond the technical artistry, the release of the quarter itself was a celebrated event. Each coin in the America the Beautiful series was launched with ceremonies held at or near the featured site in the case of the Apostle Islands. The release event brought together park officials, local communities, educators, and coin enthusiasts. The quarter became not just a piece of money, but an educational tool, a conversation starter and a keepsake that connected millions of Americans to a place many may never visit in person. Collectors have shown great interest in the Apostle Islands quarter, not only for its artistic merit, but also for its role in completing the larger set of America, the Beautiful coins. Numismatists study the variations, such as mint marks, proofs, and potential errors, which add layers of value and intrigue to the coin. For some, the quarter is a reminder of a trip to the Apostle Islands. For others, it is part of a larger collection. But for everyone, it represents a piece of American history minted in metal. The Apostle Islands themselves remain one of the crown jewels of the national park system, offering more than just natural beauty. The sea caves carved by centuries of wave action and ice are among the most famous geological formations in the Midwest. In winter, these caves transform into dazzling ice cathedrals, drawing thousands of visitors who hike across the frozen lake to witness the frozen waterfalls and crystalline formations. The islands are also home to historic brownstone quarries, abandoned fishing camps, and wildlife, ranging from black bears to migratory birds. The lighthouses, including Devil's Island, Light Sand Island Light, and others, remind visitors of the shipping history of Lake Superior. The inclusion of the kayaker in the coin's design highlights not just the beauty of the islands, but also the human connection to them. Kayaking has become one of the most popular ways to explore the Apostle Islands, allowing visitors to experience the cliffs, caves, and open waters in an intimate and adventurous way. This image connects the viewer not only to the past, but also to the present, where Americans continue to find inspiration and recreation in the wild spaces protected under the National Park Service. As a historical artifact, the Apostle Islands quarter stands as both a financial instrument and a cultural document. It tells the story of indigenous peoples, European explorers, fur traders, lighthouse keepers, conservationists, and everyday visitors, all of whom have shaped the identity of the Apostle Islands over centuries. By minting this quarter, The United States ensured that this story would circulate through millions of hands across the nation, carrying with it an invitation to discover the beauty and significance of this remote, yet remarkable place. The Apostle Islands Quarter also fits into the larger narrative of American coinage, where coins have long been used to express national identity values and pride from the early days of the Republic when coins bore allegorical symbols of liberty to the State Quarters program of 1999 to 2008, which ignited public enthusiasm for collecting modern coinage, has become a way to celebrate America's diversity of landscapes and cultures. The America the Beautiful program followed in this tradition, and the Apostle Islands Quarter exemplifies its success in combining artistry, education, and national heritage. If we step back and view the Apostle Islands Quarter not as an isolated piece, but as part of the tapestry of American coinage, it becomes clear that it is more than metal. It is memory preservation and storytelling condensed into a palm-sized object. The 2018 Apostle Islands Quarter reminds us that even in our fast-moving modern world, coins continue to carry stories that connect us to places, people, and values. By the time you finish holding this coin and tracing its details, you will have touched a story that stretches from ancient indigenous heritage to the frozen beauty of Lake Superior winters, from 19th century lighthouse keepers to 21st century kayakers, and from the creative minds of modern engravers to the hands of millions of Americans who use this coin in their daily lives. This is the enduring power of the Apostle Islands Quarter, a coin that is small in size, yet vast in history and meaning. And it is why this 25-cent piece deserves far more than just a glance at the checkout counter. It deserves to be remembered as a national treasure in miniature form. Imagine holding in your hand a small silver-colored coin that at first glance seems ordinary, but when you look closer, you find yourself staring at a miniature canvas of American history, culture, and state pride. The Rhode Island State Quarter released in 2001 as part of the legendary United States Mint 50 State Quarters program is far more than a piece of currency. It is a story, a journey, and a timeless work of art that connects us to the past and carries meaning into the present. And the question is, how did this small coin come to represent the Ocean State in such a powerful way? And why does it remain one of the most admired coins of the entire series? The story begins in the late 1990s when the United States Mint unveiled the groundbreaking idea of the 50 State Quarters program, a plan to release a new quarter design for each state over a 10-year period, beginning in 1999 and ending in 2008. The program aimed to honor each state with a reverse design that reflected its unique history, culture, symbols, and values. The Rhode Island Quarter was the 13th coin in the series, released on May 21, 2001, and it immediately drew attention because of its elegant maritime theme, a theme that could not be more fitting for the smallest state in the Union, yet one with one of the richest nautical traditions. The design chosen for Rhode Island was created by Daniel Carr, an artist who captured the state's identity in a striking image. The quarter features a vintage sailboat gliding through Narragansett Bay, its sails open wide as it catches the wind. Behind it stands the Pell Bridge, also known as the Newport Bridge, one of the most iconic landmarks in the state and one of the longest suspension bridges in New England together. The sailboat and the bridge symbolize freedom, innovation, and the enduring connection between Rhode Island's people and the sea. The inscriptions include Rhode Island, the Ocean State, and the date of statehood, 1790, reminding us that Rhode Island was the 13th state to join the Union and that it proudly carries the title of the Ocean State. To fully appreciate the history behind this quarter, you must look back at Rhode Island's founding and its relationship with the sea. Rhode Island was established by Roger Williams in 1636. After he fled religious persecution in the Massachusetts Bay Colony, he founded Providence plantations on the principles of religious freedom and separation of church and state, ideas that would later influence the entire nation. Because of its coastline and deep harbors, Rhode Island quickly became a hub of trade commerce and shipbuilding. By the 18th century, the state played a critical role in maritime commerce, including the whaling industry, the rum trade, and the controversial but historically undeniable triangular trade system. Rhode Island shipbuilders and merchants were among the most skilled and ambitious in the colonies, and their success helped fuel the prosperity and growth of the region when the American Revolution erupted. Rhode Island was one of the first colonies to declare independence in May of 1776, a full 2 months before the Declaration of Independence was signed. Rhode Island's maritime strength gave it an advantage during the conflict as privateers and merchant vessels turned into armed ships that harassed British supply lines. The deep waters of Narragansett Bay became the site of several important military maneuvers, and Rhode Island sailors played an outsized role in the struggle for freedom. This rich naval legacy is why the state quarter's sailing theme resonates so deeply. The Pell Bridge featured on the quarter is another symbol of progress and ingenuity, built in 1969. It connects Newport to Jamestown and is one of the longest suspension bridges in New England. Its sweeping design and engineering brilliance are celebrated both for their practical function and for the beauty they add to Rhode Island's coastal landscape, pairing the bridge with the sailboat was a conscious decision to show the duality of Rhode Island's identity, a balance between its historical traditions of sailing and shipbuilding and its modern achievements in engineering and infrastructure as part of the state quarters. Program Rhode Island's coin was minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco with standard circulation strikes, as well as proof and silver-proof versions. Collectors quickly embraced the coin, not only for its artistic beauty but also for its symbolism. The United States Mint reported that millions of Rhode Island quarters entered circulation, yet higher-grade specimens and proof strikes became highly desirable among numismatists. The design also sparked local pride within Rhode Island as residents felt the coin captured the essence of their state in a way that was both historically accurate and visually stunning. The program itself was a massive success for the United States Mint, as the 50 state quarters became one of the most collected coin series in history. It brought millions of Americans, young and old, into the world of coin collecting, and it gave each state the opportunity to tell its story through imagery. Rhode Island's quarter stands out, not only because of its design, but also because of the layers of history it represents, from the colonial era to the Revolution, from commerce to modern engineering, from tradition to innovation. The coin serves as a bridge across time. Collectors and historians often remark that the Rhode Island quarter is a masterclass in design balance. The sweeping lines of the sailboat and bridge are framed beautifully within the circular canvas of the coin. The inscriptions are clear and dignified, and the composition is both dynamic and elegant. This has made it a favorite in teaching numismatics and design, as well as a prime example of how a small coin can carry enormous meaning if you were to expand the story of the Rhode Island quarter into a full historical narrative lasting 2 hours. You would dive deeper into the origins of Rhode Island's maritime culture, the development of its harbors, the rise of Newport as a major seaport, and the role of its sailors and shipbuilders in both war and peace. You would explore the Industrial Revolution in Rhode Island and how the state balanced its seafaring traditions with textile mills and factories. You would trace the construction of the Pell Bridge and its role in connecting communities and fostering economic growth, and you would examine how the state quarters program itself revitalized interest in American coinage at the dawn of the 21st century. Every detail, from the sailboat to the bridge to the inscription, the Ocean State, reflects a carefully chosen piece of Rhode Island's identity, and the quarter serves as both a teaching tool and a symbol of pride. It is not merely money, it is a piece of art, a slice of history, and a reminder of the bond between a people and the waters that surround them. And that is the story the Rhode Island quarter tells every time it changes hands, every time it is collected, every time it is studied and admired. It carries with it the weight of history and the spirit of the Ocean State. Imagine holding a piece of metal that is no larger than the palm of your hand, yet it carries the weight of history, culture, and artistry in ways that go far beyond its face value. The Connecticut State Quarter, released in 1999 as part of the historic 50 State Quarters program, is one of those coins that tells a story stretching back, not just to the birth of the United States Mint, but to the very roots of America itself, when the United States Mint launched the 50 State Quarters program in 1999. It was not just an effort to put new coins into circulation. It was a groundbreaking initiative that brought every state into the national spotlight through its symbols, history, and pride, and Connecticut was one of the first 5 states to be honored, with its own quarter appearing in the same year as Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Georgia. The Connecticut Quarter immediately drew attention for its striking design, featuring the charter oak, a tree that had stood for centuries in Hartford, Connecticut, and had become one of the most enduring symbols of American freedom, resilience, and independence. The choice of the charter oak was no accident. Its story reaches back to the turbulent years of colonial America, when in 1687 the English crown sought to exert greater control over the colony of Connecticut. The royal governor, Sir Edmund Andros, demanded the colony surrender its royal charter, which granted it the right to self-govern. According to legend, the colonists hid the document inside the hollow of the mighty oak tree, protecting their rights and their vision of liberty from being seized by the crown. This act of defiance became a powerful moment in early American history, showing that even before the Revolution, the seeds of independence were already being sown, and the oak tree stood as a living monument to that spirit when the tree was finally brought down by a storm. In 1856, its wood was carefully preserved and transformed into furniture, relics, and mementos scattered across Connecticut and beyond, forever cementing its role in American heritage. The United States Mint knew that this story captured the essence of Connecticut, and so the charter oak became the central motif on the quarter itself. The image shows the sprawling branches of the tree, its powerful limbs reaching out across the coin as if to embrace the ideals of freedom and strength. It had come to symbolize the detail of the engraving, reflects the complexity and grandeur of the oak, a natural wonder and historical emblem combined into one timeless design. Under the branches, the inscription Connecticut 1788 marks the year the state joined the Union and became part of the foundation of the United States, and the coin also proudly bears the words, "The Charter Oak and E Pluribus Unum," reminding collectors that this was more than just a tree. It was a symbol of unity and resilience for the nation. The Connecticut Quarter was released on October 12, 1999, and its arrival marked one of the high points of the early years of the State Quarters program. Millions of Americans were lining up at banks, coin shops, and even vending machines just to get their hands on the newly minted designs. The excitement surrounding the series was unlike anything the United States Mint had seen in decades, and the Connecticut Quarter was often singled out for its elegant and meaningful design. Over the years, this coin has become a favorite among collectors, not only for its symbolism, but also for the sheer beauty of its engraving. The charter oak design was considered one of the finest of the entire 50 State Quarters program, praised for its balance, artistry, and historical significance. Coin enthusiasts, numismatists, and historians often point out that the Connecticut Quarter is more than a simple collectible. It is a teaching tool, a way to bring history into the hands of millions, and a reminder that even the smallest objects can carry the grandest stories for collectors. There are many details to study, from the Philadelphia and Denver Mint issues to the proof version struck in San Francisco. The coin exists in copper nickel-clad circulation strikes, as well as silver-proof editions, which were highly sought after by serious hobbyists. Errors and varieties such as off-center strikes, double dies, or unusual minting flaws also make certain Connecticut quarters especially valuable in the secondary market, adding another layer of fascination to the story beyond the numismatic world. The coin has also played a role in popular culture and education classrooms across the country. used the State Quarters program to teach students about geography, history, and civics, and the Connecticut Quarter gave teachers a perfect opportunity to discuss colonial America, the fight for self-government, and the symbolism of the oak tree in American culture. The coin has also sparked interest in tourism, as travelers visited Connecticut to see historic sites connected to the Charter Oak and to experience the heritage represented on the quarter itself. The significance of the Connecticut Quarter also lies in its place within the broader narrative of the 50 State Quarters program, which ran from 1999 to 2008 and became one of the most successful coin programs in United States history by engaging the public in coin collecting. It rekindled national interest in the mint and brought history, art, and culture into everyday pockets. The Connecticut Quarter stands as a shining example of how this program achieved its goals by creating a coin that is both beautiful and deeply meaningful. Even today, decades after its release, the Connecticut Quarter continues to inspire collectors and historians alike. It is more than just 25 cents. It is a symbol of defiance against tyranny, a reminder of the enduring power of nature and history, and a masterpiece of numismatic design that ensures the legacy of the Charter Oak will never be forgotten. Whether you are a casual collector who remembers pulling it from change at the grocery store or a seasoned numismatist studying every detail under magnification, the Connecticut Quarter invites you to hold in your hand a piece of living history that will echo for generations. Imagine holding a small piece of American history in your hand, a coin no larger than a quarter, yet carrying with it a story of nature, history, art, and the national spirit that shaped the United States. The Bombay Hook National Wildlife Refuge Quarter. Released in 2015 as part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, is one such coin, and its history unfolds not only through its design, but also through the cultural, ecological, and artistic values it represents. When the United States Mint launched the America the Beautiful series in 2010, the goal was to honor national parks and other significant national sites across the 50 states, the District of Columbia, and the U.S. territories. Each year, 5 new quarters were released with designs reflecting the beauty and history of these places. By the time the Bombay Hook Quarter was struck in 2015, collectors and historians were already fascinated by how these coins had become both circulating money and miniature canvases of American pride and heritage. The Bombay Hook Quarter specifically pays tribute to Bombay Hook National Wildlife Refuge, located in Delaware, a site that has stood since 1937 as a sanctuary for migratory birds and a pristine example of tidal salt marsh habitat. The refuge covers nearly 16,000 acres and provides shelter for countless species ranging from ducks, geese, and herons to the endangered bald eagle and Delaware blue crab. The United States Mint chose to showcase this natural gem because it not only embodies Delaware's environmental heritage, but also highlights the importance of wildlife conservation in the nation's history. The design of the Bombay Hook Quarter was the result of careful artistic deliberation. The Mint's artistic infusion program and experienced sculptor-engravers worked together to create imagery that would represent the refuge accurately and with visual power. The reverse of the coin depicts a tranquil wetland scene with a great blue heron in the foreground and a great egret in the background. The detail of the reeds and water ripples demonstrates the Mint's advanced engraving technology, while also giving the coin an almost photographic depth. The choice of these birds was deliberate, as they are iconic to the refuge and symbolize the harmony of wildlife and environment. The obverse, as with all quarters in the America, the Beautiful series carries the classic portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. In 1932 and later refined for modern minting, the Bombay Hook Quarter was struck at multiple mints, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, each producing circulation strikes and collector proofs. The Philadelphia and Denver issues were released into commerce, while San Francisco produced collector versions, including proof and silver proof coins that quickly became sought after by numismatists. Collectors admired not only the design, but also the sharpness of detail in the special strike versions, which brought out the layered beauty of the wetland scene. What makes the Bombay Hook Quarter historically significant is its dual role as both a work of art and a circulating object. It connects Americans who may never visit Delaware. With one of the state's most treasured landscapes, it also reflects the broader legacy of the America the Beautiful program, which aimed to instill a sense of pride in the national sites that shaped the nation's character. But beyond the aesthetics, the Bombay Hook Quarter's deeper history lies in the refuge itself, established during the presidency of Franklin D. Roosevelt. Bombay Hook was created under the Migratory Bird Conservation Act, a reflection of how the United States recognized the need to protect natural resources during the 20th century. The refuge has served as a vital resting and feeding ground for countless birds traveling along the Atlantic Flyway, making it not only a local treasure, but also an international ecological landmark. When viewed in this context, the quarter becomes more than currency. It becomes a story of how the nation preserves its environment for future generations throughout the history of coin. Collecting the Bombay Hook Quarter has earned respect for being one of the most elegant wildlife designs in the America the Beautiful series. Its balanced composition, its intricate engraving, and its symbolic weight make it a standout among the 56 quarters in the program collectors. Continue to seek out high-grade examples, as well as the silver-proof versions which showcase the wetland scene with an added brilliance that highlights the artistry of the mint. Even circulation strikes often catch the attention of collectors, who appreciate the coin's unusual ability to merge natural serenity with numismatic beauty. When studying this quarter for a 2-hour deep dive, one can explore multiple layers of its history. The development of the America the Beautiful series, the ecological history of Bombay Hook Refuge, the engraving artistry behind the design, the mintage statistics, and the role of conservation in American culture. Furthermore, the Bombay Hook Quarter serves as a teaching tool. It represents the cooperation of government artistry and environmental stewardship in a single small object, and this makes it timeless in understanding the story of the United States and its values. In short, the Bombay Hook 2015 quarter is not just a coin, it is a reflection of history, environment, and artistry, a coin that has traveled in pockets and wallets, yet also found its place in prized collections. A reminder that sometimes the smallest things carry the grandest stories.